Never mind that. I can go through my whole little quick introduction again. If you're new here, I'm Julie O'Hara, and I run the website calmbellykitchen.com. I'm a health coach specializing in helping women with IBS and the FODMAP diet, and I've got loads of information and free stuff and a free 10-day cleanse that you can sign up for, all on my website on calmbellykitchen.com. So, if this is your first time watching Calm Belly TV, I hop on every Wednesday around this time and do a live chat. So I usually come up with a topic beforehand, and today I am going to go over 3 seriously useful tips for the FODMAP diet. This isn't like fluffy mindset stuff, this is like seriously useful, and maybe you've heard one of them, but you probably haven't heard all 3 tips. Okay, so yeah, if you are watching live, thank you so much for joining me live. I absolutely love it. Feel free to ask questions as we go. This is just totally casual. And now I'm getting like, things are clicking. This is live TV, guys. This is how it goes. Okay, so I'm gonna get into it. So my first tip is, how do you know what cheeses are low FODMAP, okay? So yeah, obviously the ones listed on the Monash app are low FODMAP. You know, they tell you that certain cheeses are. And hey, thanks for joining. RH, I'm not sure what your first name is. We'll call you RH. Okay, so yes, the cheese is on the... Okay, if you just heard me sigh, I'm sorry, that was annoying, but my connection seemed to be weak even though I didn't get a warning. All right, I'm gonna continue. So with cheese, here's what you do. You can find out if any cheese is low FODMAP really easily if you just look at the ingredient label. So first thing you wanna do is check and see if there are any other extra ingredients listed, like added things like flavors or types of sugar. So this would only happen if it's a cheese product, like a cheese spread, some sort of flavored spread or something like that. But just real, you know, naturally made cheese of any kind is not going to have any added flavors like garlic or other sugars like honey. That would be very, very unlikely unless it's a sort of like flavored product. So you just check the ingredients, and then you look at the nutrition label to the line where they list the sugar content. So if it says 0 grams of sugar, that means there's no lactose in the product, okay? So lactose is a sugar, a milk sugar, and it shows up in that line for sugars on the nutrition label. The only caveat to this, and it's not really anything to worry about, but just so you know what's going on, in US labeling laws, if there is 0.4 grams or less of sugar, so that's 0.4, the manufacturer is allowed to round down. So if it says 0 grams, that could mean there is 0.2 grams in there. And that is such a minute, teeny tiny amount of lactose that you'd have to be extremely sensitive to have any issues with it. So if it says 0 grams of sugar, doesn't matter what kind of cheese it is, you are good to go, and it's low FODMAP. So you don't have to just restrict yourself to the cheeses on the app. You can just check the label and figure it out. All right, I'm getting a weak connection. I hope things get better. Guys, I don't know. You know what I'm gonna do? Maybe I'm gonna switch my phone. Okay, I just switched my phone away from the Wi-Fi to the data, so hopefully this works better. Still says I have a weak connection. I'm really sorry. It might fix itself in a second, so hang in there, guys. If you're watching the replay, sorry about all the tech snafus, but like I said, okay, it looks like we're back with a strong connection. Somebody give me a heart or a thumbs up if everything's looking good now. Hopefully we're good to go for the rest of this broadcast. Okay, so I covered cheese. So the essential thing about it, all right, Kathy says I sound good. Thank you for letting me know. And okay, so the essential thing with cheese, any cheese, if there's 0 grams of sugar, it's no or virtually no lactose, and it's low FODMAP. So you can eat all kinds of cheeses on this diet. All right, so the next tip that you need to know that makes it a lot easier to read ingredient labels is the rules about the term spices and then the term natural flavors, okay? So a lot of times you see this listed in countless different types of food products. Down there at the bottom of the list of ingredients, it says spices, and some of you might think that could include onion powder and garlic powder, things you want to avoid. But the term spices is not allowed to include onion and garlic. It can't include a food that is considered to be a substantial source of nutrition. Okay, onion and garlic are considered nutritional food sources, not spices. So they are never part of that category of spices. So if you see that on the ingredient label, there won't be any FODMAPs in there. It would include things like cumin, cinnamon, turmeric, rosemary, all the dried herbs, and all of that stuff is low FODMAP. Okay, now the term natural flavor can include onion and garlic. Doesn't always, but it can, and you never know for sure. So that term means that it's a flavor that comes from a food which is a source of nutrition. So that can be chicken flavor, onion flavor, garlic flavor, citrus flavor. So it can be a whole array of things, but depending on the product, like if we're talking about chicken broth, there's a good chance that onion is part of that category of natural flavor. All right, I hope I made that clear. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Yay, thank you for the thumbs up. You can't see them, but when you do that, they float across my screen. I love it. Okay, the third tip, the super practical, super helpful tip is something that I get asked about a lot. And this is about how many servings of green light foods can you eat in one sitting. So this usually comes up in the context of fruit and vegetables, right? So yeah, a half a cup serving of broccoli, let's say, is green light, low FODMAP. So you can eat that, but can you eat that and a half a cup of zucchini in the same meal? So on the Monash blog, there was actually an article about this very recently that someone posted in the group, and it's something that I've been working on to help the people, the clients in my programs and my one-on-one clients, and I've been creating like different materials to help you figure this out. So this is the way I like to look at it, all right? You look at the different, fruits and vegetables listed on the app. Some of them do not have an upper limit serving size. So you look at that little notes section in the listing for the food. So let's say it's zucchini. Zucchini has an upper limit of, I don't remember the exact number, but let's say it's 100 grams. So if you get to 100 grams and above, it is high FODMAP, or it might be moderate. I'm sorry, I don't have the app in front of me. So that means that if you eat too much, it becomes high FODMAP. There are other foods like carrot, where if you eat a large amount, 300 grams, it's still low FODMAP because that particular vegetable happens to just have an extremely low FODMAP content. So when you think about what's a good idea to combine, yes, you can combine various servings, green light size servings, but you want to kind of think about what you're combining. So maybe don't do broccoli and green beans and zucchini, because all of those do have an upper limit. So they're just in general higher FODMAP veggies than carrots. So you might want to combine green beans and carrots. Eggplant is one that does have an upper limit, but it's huge. You kind of really have to look at each one individually. These are all these different foods, they're all different in terms of FODMAP content. So this tip is obviously a little more complex than the first two, but it's something worth thinking about. And as you just spend more time looking at ingredients on the app, you start to see, that, yeah, there really are a lot of differences. But the important thing to remember is that you can combine, more than one serving, more than one green light serving of produce, but it might help, depending on your body, to consider, is it a higher FODMAP veggie or is it a lower one? Same with fruit. So that's really the gist of it. All right, I'm going to look at your questions. Oh, thank you for saying that's helpful, RH. I'm glad. Okay, so apparently I explained that clearly enough. Sometimes when I'm watching the video and I'm watching the comments and I'm worried about the signal, and then I'm also trying to talk, things can get muddled. So good, I'm glad it helped. All right, are there any questions about any of this stuff? So those are my 3 tips. If you were joining a little bit late, the first one is about how to know which cheeses are low FODMAP. Jane says you missed number 2. Number 2 is about what the terms spices and natural flavors mean when you see them on ingredient labels. So I would just say catch the replay. It'll be available in the group right after this. Thank you. Thanks, Jane. But yeah, it'll help you to just see the full explanation. But it's a pretty simple but very useful tip. Okay? So thanks guys for joining me live. If questions come up, if you watch the replay and have questions, just leave them in the comments and I will be hanging around to answer them. But yeah, I hope that helped. So those are kind of diverse tips, but it's all about like little things to know, that you have to sort of learn over time, and especially with number 3, with combining different fruits and vegetables, it's going to be different for everyone. Like I can't say, oh, okay, you can combine three different ones, 3 servings. For you, it might be 2. For me, it might be 3, and it's going to be different depending on your size, depending on what FODMAPs you tolerate. You know, if it's maybe you have a really high tolerance for sorbitol, so a high sorbitol veggie is not going to be an issue for you. You can combine it with another veggie that you are sensitive to. So it totally depends, and that's where there's a lot of experimentation, but it's all about learning and gathering this data. You're welcome, Jane. Thank you so much for hopping on live. Okay, RH, any advice about grains with those veggies at the same sitting? Oh, you know, it's really kind of the same thing. I think most of the problems come from the veggies, but like some grains, like rice is very low FODMAP. Maybe quinoa is a little higher. I can't refer to the app because I'm looking at my phone right now for the video, but it's kind of the same thing, and they're sort of in different categories, right? So grains are just processed by your body differently, and you kind of have to experiment with what works for you. But I mean, in general, yeah, you can combine a green light serving of grains and 1 to 3 green light servings of veggies, depending on you. And then, of course, protein is no FODMAPs at all, so that's totally fine to combine, you know, according to your appetite. The tip about spices and flavorings was helpful. Good. I just assumed spices included garlic and onion. I know a lot of people do, right? I totally understand. But yeah, it doesn't. I can't say for sure about other countries, but in the US, it does not. Are there any other questions? Any questions? And if you have ideas for future Calm Belly TV videos, I would love to get them. I always love suggestions because I want to help you. I want this to actually be useful. And next week, we're on hiatus. I'm going to be out of town, so there will not be a Calm Belly TV. but I'll be back the week after that. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you're watching the replay, thank you too, and I will see you soon. Bye.